A few years back, I was running one of my businesses and I had a supply situation that needed a fast call. I had two options in front of me. I had maybe 48 hours to decide. And instead of working through it properly, I just went with my gut. Quick decision, felt confident, moved on. It cost me about 3 months of unnecessary work and a significant amount of money. Not catastrophic, but painful and completely avoidable. Here's the thing, it wasn't a hard decision. It was just a decision I made badly because I had no process. I was just reacting. I used to think good decision makers were just smarter than everyone else. I was wrong. They just had a better system. Most people make decisions by feel, gut instinct, emotion, whatever's loudest in the room at that moment. And look, sometimes that works. For small, low-stakes things, your gut is often fine. But for anything that actually matters, a career move, a financial commitment, a business decision, a relationship call, feeling your way through is one of the most expensive habits a person can have. And I don't just mean financially, I mean time, energy, opportunity. The cost of a consistently poor decision-making process compounds over several years. What I've found through running different businesses and living in different places and making a lot of decisions, some of them very wrong, is that there are 3 tools I reach for every single time something important lands in front of me. Not theory, not frameworks I read about and forgot, things I actually use. That's what this video is about. 3 tools that turn a murky, stressful decision into something clear and actionable. Before we get to the tools, we need to talk about why decisions go wrong in the first place. Because in my experience, it's not about intelligence. It's about falling into one of 2 failure modes. The first one is overthinking, paralysis by analysis. You gather more information, you ask more people, you run more scenarios in your head, and you end up frozen. The decision either never gets made or it gets made so late that the window's already closed. I've watched smart people do this repeatedly. The goal is always more certainty, but certainty never arrives and the opportunity disappears. The second failure mode is underthinking, pure impulse. You decide on instinct, on emotion, on whatever feels right in the moment. Sometimes that works, but for anything consequential, this is just gambling with your future self's problems. Now here's the important part. Most people have one mode they default to. Some people are chronic overthinkers, some people are chronic underthinkers. And without a framework, whatever your default mode is, that's what runs the show every single time. The solution isn't to think harder or faster. It's to have a process that does the thinking for you. A system you trust, so your brain isn't trying to reinvent the wheel under pressure every single time. That's what the next 3 tools give you. The first tool isn't about making decisions. It's about knowing which decisions deserve your real attention in the first place. Because here's something most people skip entirely. Not every decision earns the full weight of your mental energy. Most things that feel urgent aren't actually important. This is where the Eisenhower Matrix comes in. It's a simple 2x2 grid, urgent and important, do it now. Important but not urgent, schedule it. Urgent but not important, delegate it. Neither urgent nor important, delete it. That's it. 4 boxes, but the insight inside it is very powerful. Most people spend the majority of their decision energy in the urgent but not important quadrant. Responding, reacting, firefighting. Things that are allowed, things that demand immediate attention. The decisions that actually shape your life, the big ones, the ones that matter, they live in the important but not urgent category. And they get ignored because they're never screaming for your attention. They're quiet, they can wait, until suddenly they can't. Here's how I use it. When I feel overwhelmed, when there are 10 things competing for my attention at once, I stop and I run everything through the matrix. It takes about 5 minutes, and every single time, it immediately shows me where my focus should actually go. Things that felt enormous suddenly get delegated or dropped, and the thing I'd been quietly avoiding moves to the top of the list. Here's your practical step. Write down everything on your plate right now. Every decision pending, every problem sitting there, apply the matrix. Just go through each one. Is it urgent? Is it important? Assign it a box. You'll immediately see what's consuming your energy that doesn't deserve it. If this is already useful, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I break down one life skill every week on this channel. Practical tools like these, things you can actually use It's free, it takes 1 second, and it means you won't miss the next one. Tool 2 is one I come back to constantly for any decision that carries real weight. It's called the 10-10-10 rule, and it comes from a writer named Susie Welch. 3 questions. That's all it is. How will I feel about the decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel about the decision in 10 months? And how will I feel about the decision in 10 years? Why does this work? Most bad decisions are made optimizing for the 10-minute feeling, the comfort, the avoidance, the short-term relief. We say yes when we should say no because right now it feels easier. We avoid a hard conversation because right now the thought of it is uncomfortable. We delay a commitment because right now the uncertainty feels better than the risk. But when you force yourself to look at all 3 time horizons at once, the right decision usually becomes obvious, because the 10-minute feeling is almost always the weakest argument in the room. I'll give you a real example. A few years ago, I had a difficult conversation I needed to have with someone in my business. I kept avoiding it. Every week, I'd tell myself I'll do it next week. The 10-minute feeling, dreading it. Genuinely didn't want to have it, so my brain kept finding reasons to push it. Then I actually ran the 10-10-10 10 months. If I don't have this conversation, nothing changes. The situation gets worse. The cost of not doing it compounds. 10 years not having it would have been the bigger mistake by a long way. The thing I was dreading for 10 minutes could have cost me years. I had the conversation. It was uncomfortable for about 20 minutes, and then it was done. So here's the application. Anytime you're stuck on a decision, genuinely stuck, write the 3 questions. Answer them honestly. Not how you want to feel, but how you actually will feel. The answer often writes itself because you already know the right call. You just need a way to see past the noise of right now. Tool 3 is about the moment of committing. Even if you've used the matrix to find the right decision, even if you run the 10-10-10 and you can see the answer clearly, there's still that final moment where you have to actually make the call. And that's where a lot of people stall. Here's the truth. The enemy of good decisions isn't bad information. It's the pursuit of the perfect decision. The perfect decision doesn't exist. There is only the best decision you can make with what you know right now. And waiting for perfect almost always means one of 2 things. The window closes or you're delaying out of fear. I use what I call the 70% rule. If I have 70% of the information dearly want, I make the decision. Not 100%, not 90%, 70%. Because the last 30% of information typically takes 70% of the time and energy to gather, and it rarely changes the outcome. At some point, more research is just procrastination with better optics. The second part of this tool is the reversibility test. Before you commit, ask one question. Is this reversible or irreversible? Reversible decisions move fast. Make the call, see what happens. Course correct if you need to. Hire the person, try the strategy, book the trip. If it doesn't work, you adjust. Reversible decisions, treated like irreversible ones, are the single biggest source of wasted time I've seen in business. Irreversible decisions, slow right down. Apply the tools, give it more time. But even then, at some point, you need to commit, because an irreversible decision avoided indefinitely is still a decision, just not one you made consciously. I'll leave you with this. I've made thousands of decisions across a variety of businesses and travels and life situations. The ones I regret most aren't the ones that turned out badly. Plenty of decisions I made turned out badly, and I don't spend much time regretting them. I learned something. I moved on. The ones I generally regret are the ones I never made. The opportunities I let expire while I was still thinking about them. The conversations I kept pushing to next week until next week became never. The calls I delayed until the moment had passed. Indecision isn't a neutral act. It's a choice, just not a conscious one. So let's pull this together, because these 3 tools work best as a sequence, a system you can run for any significant decision. Step 1, is this even worth my full attention? Use the Eisenhower Matrix. Takes 2 minutes. It's not important, it gets delegated or dropped. If it is important, it moves forward. Step 2, what does the long term actually look like? Use the 10-10-10, 5 minutes. Write the 3 questions. Answer them honestly. If the right decision becomes obvious, make it. If it's still not clear, that's information too. Usually it means the 10-year answer is uncertain and you need to slow down. Step 3, do I have 70%? Then make the call. Apply the reversibility test. If it's reversible, move fast. You can adjust. If it's irreversible, be thorough, but commit when you're at 70. Don't wait for 100%. That's the system. Eisenhower to filter, 10-10-10 to see clearly, 70% to commit. What this does over time is significant. Faster decisions, fewer regrets. Less mental energy wasted on things that don't deserve it. Less guilt about the opportunities that slip through, and a growing sense of trust in your own judgment. Because you're not just guessing anymore. You have a process. The people I know who make consistently good decisions in business, in life, in anything, they're not smarter than anyone else. They just have a system they trust and they use it. That's it. That's the whole thing. Here's your challenge for tonight. Think of one decision you've been avoiding, or one you've been overthinking for longer than it deserves. Just one. Apply the 10-10-10 rule. Do it right now. Write it down. How will you feel in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years? Honest answers. See if the decision becomes clearer. I bet it does. Because the problem usually isn't that you don't have enough information. The problem is you don't have a process to cut through the noise. These tools give you that. If this was useful, share it with someone who's stuck on a big decision right now. And if you have a topic you want to cover, decisions, habits, productivity, anything in that space, drop it in the comments. I read all of them. On this channel, I break down one life skill every week so you can build a better life. One conversation, one habit, one system at a time. Life, knowledge, productivity. See you in the next one.